Cleveland's defense the best you will have faced thus far this season?
Yeah. I mean, I think just statistically and play style, they're playing at a high level. They're playing with a lot of confidence. It's a lot of speed, a lot of disruption. They don't give you a whole lot of time to make decisions. And then there's enough, change-ups in there that, you just have to be good. You have to be sound. You can't hold on to the ball. Coverage is sticky and linebackers are fast.
Foxboro Rush coming at you on a Friday as the Patriots get set to be back in the home digs again. But as you just heard Mike Vrabel say there, take on the toughest defense that they have faced throughout the course of this season and riding a win streak into it. What can they do with it? We'll break it all down here for you on Foxboro Rush on your Friday morning. Keagan, Stiefel, Jade, McCarthy here with you. We are going to go boots on the ground to Cleveland to talk to Mary Kay Cabot, who is terrific. She's covered this Browns team for a long time, always breaking news about it and always has some good intel and insight. So we're excited to talk with her coming up towards the end of things. So that just means you got to hang with us for a while. Right, Keagan? Like the invite's there. Hang on, see what you get.
There's nothing wrong with hanging out with us on a Friday morning. I can't think of something I would rather do than talk Patriots football with us two. I mean, people are lucky to be watching.
Yeah, it's the truth. I mean, look, if you're talking ball on a Friday morning, life is good. So we're going to embrace it and we want you to embrace it with us. Look, I mean, this to me is it's a big game for this Patriots team because we have seen them take care of business the last couple weeks. Didn't get too high after the win in Buffalo against the Bills. That sort of put them, I think, nationally on a different plane, if you will, to be able to go in there and take on a team that quite honestly is going to, I think, have their hands full with the running game of the Carolina Panthers this weekend, because that has not proven to be the Bills' defensive strength. Right. But that's a story for another day or maybe another time. Let's focus on the game at hand here. But for this Patriots team, they didn't get too high after that. They went down to New Orleans, did what they need to do. Same thing in Tennessee. There were, some different storylines that could have proven to be a distraction going down there to take on the Tennessee Titans. But nope, they went and they did what they needed to do and did it well. And obviously Drake Maye leading the charge there. He's played exceptionally well the last couple weeks. And now this looks to be the next best test for the Patriots quarterback. And that has really been the way they have described things throughout the course of the season, Keagan, right? Like, here's this test and we have to, find a way to pass this test and then use what we don't do well and what we did do well to learn for the next test. How do you see this one in terms of test rankings, I guess, for the New England Patriots here?
Yeah, I think it's up there. It's interesting. You mentioned all the different tests, and I think they've all kind of represented something different, a different question that we might have had regarding this team and their outlook this season. Being able to go into Tennessee where Mike Vrabel has a long history and kind of put that to the side and take care of business, and going down to New Orleans, a place that they don't go often, but you hear so much about the environment and the fact that we all viewed that as a little bit of a trap game, and they took care of business there. And on the road in Buffalo is as tough a test that Drake Maye has faced in his career, and many of the guys who are on this roster have only been here for 1 or 2 years. So it was the biggest that they had faced, and they passed that test with flying colors. So I don't know necessarily if this matches the level, right? You're at home, and it's a really good defense, but you're coming off a 4-game win streak, 3 at home. You have to feel good about where you're at. But that's kind of where you fall into a little bit of a trap situation. You don't want to get too comfortable. You definitely don't want to look ahead because the Cleveland Browns are too talented to look past, but they're 2-5 and you're 5-2, and you're looking like a playoff team. This is just another one of those examples of you need to continue to take care of business. They've done that so far this season. You just got to continue to carry it over, especially while you're at home. It's a big change this year, the way they've looked at home versus the past few years. It's gotten a little bit better as we've moved along, but being able to do it against the best defense in football is that's a nice notch in your badge as you move forward.
Yeah, I mean, that's the test to me. It's like, okay, this is the number one total defense. They turned over the Dolphins. They had 3 picks in that game last week. The Dolphins scored a total of 6 points. I understand it is the Dolphins. Things are problematic at the very best down there in Miami. But they do have some speed. They do have some different things that the Browns defense had to contend with, and we saw them make some of the adjustments that they needed to be able to do that and to do it effectively well. I'm curious to ask Mary Kay Cabot coming up a little bit later in the show how she thinks the Browns defense might make some adjustments to handle what the Patriots offense does well. But the defense is clearly the Browns test. And the other defense, I think, is just holding serve at home and showing that, home field is an advantage. Like, it's supposed to be an advantage. I would like to see this Patriots team say, yes, this is an advantage. And no, you really don't want to come to Foxboro to take us on in our house, right? I think that's part of, if the 2 tests are that this weekend, that's how I would define them. Notably, we've sort of been talking about the impact of success, right? I mean, because the Patriots have rattled off some wins here. And how does that help you? How can that hurt you? Steph Diggs talked about that this week.
You've talked about drinking the Kool-Aid, how this team has handled success. Can success at times be kind of a poison in that, you start to anticipate results as opposed to dictating those results? And how do you handle that and not drink the Kool-Aid? What is your message on it?
I don't think so. I think you should expect success. If you don't work hard all week, you shouldn't expect success. If you don't prepare the right way, you won't expect success. I'm pretty sure everybody right here went to school. If you studied for a test, you didn't go in thinking I was going to fail. You didn't go in thinking I won't do well in this test or be apprehensive about it. If you studied and you did exactly what you needed to, you prepared the right way, you expected success. That's what brings success to me, not rolling the dice. This is not gambling. I'm saying, you don't know. It's not a 50-50 chance. You put the effort in and attach yourself to the process and what has got us good results. So that's what it is. As far as I don't think success is poison in any way. I think it's if anything, it's more harder to be more successful. You want to win, and you want to win more, and you know what it takes to win. So
it's the truth, right? I mean, you get a taste of what you can do when you put the work in, right?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's the reality of it. It's because he's 100% right in the sense of, well, if you don't put the work in, then you are rolling the dice. But that's not what this team has been doing. It's certainly not what Mike Vrabel preaches, and clearly it's not what Steph Diggs or any of the other leaders on this team are preaching. And you hear everybody talking about the work that Drake Maye puts in, and really everybody on this team. You do expect success, and we've heard Vrabel also say this season, look, it's a lot easier to coach them apart after a loss than it is a win, because a win you could still say, all right, we did this, and this, but guess what, we still got to do this, and this, Keagan.
Right. Yeah, and they found the right way to approach it. That, like you said, after a loss, it's easy to just say, we got to get back and we got to get better. After a win, it's a little bit different, but they've kind of approached practices in the middle of the week differently than we've seen definitely in the past with Bill Belichick, but even under Gerard Mayo, less padded practices. I think a lot of their focus has been on execution and not so much physicality. And I think at least early in the season, and you would imagine late in the season, less hits on the body, it's going to help them because they're a little bit fresher and they're saving all that physicality and the laying down hits and making sure you're executing blocks and all that stuff. They're saving it for Sundays or they're saving it for game day. So approaching it that way, where it's a little bit different than maybe what the rest of the NFL is doing, but you have a lot of younger players mixed with a lot of really, really veteran players. Like Stephon Diggs has been around for a decade. Morgan Moses has been around for more than a decade. There isn't a whole lot of middle ground here. It's a lot of really young and a lot of really old.
Yeah.
So being able to find what works for both, I think it's the biggest thing that's gone into their success, especially in this winning streak, like you said. So continuing to just carry that along and adjusting as, each individual test comes, I think is going to be the important thing. But so far, so good. They've done a good job of that.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the defense and just what we've seen against them. A little bit of a slow start there against the Tennessee Titans, and we've seen the Patriots, start slow, really on both sides of the ball, a couple different times this season. So that's something to really keep an eye on, I think, going into the weekend. But I think when you look at what we want to see them do this weekend, part of it is, just get off to that quick start, especially for a defense against this Browns team that they traded away Joe Flacco. It's Dylan Gabriel at quarterback. He has been efficient, right? Like, he hasn't turned the ball over, which helps to keep his team in games, as we all know. But he's also not like pressing the ball down the field and lighting it up. So it would seem to be that this is a ready-made platter for the Patriots to change the way that they're starting and get off to a faster start. K'Lavon Chaisson talked about the defense starting a little bit slow and trying to improve upon that.
Played very well as a team, as a defense, for most of the season. Yet that second series, what's the conversation amongst you guys about coming off maybe with a faster start on D?
It's something that we emphasize every day, and we got to figure it out. There's no excuse behind it. We got to figure out why is it happening every day that we step on it on the field. Throughout the week leading up to Sunday, we're approaching it with that mindset to start off high and finish strong as well.
All right, so there's K'Lavon Chaisson. I always want to put an extra syllable in his first name. But look, I mean, I do think that, like, this is sort of the platter that they have to say, okay, we can do this from go. We can finish. Yeah. We can start the way we finished against the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic with the way they kind of have to approach Cleveland's offense, because bend but don't break does not work against Cleveland, because they have a really good running back. They've got two really good tight ends. They've got like 14 receivers who are shifty and quick and that you don't want to deal with down at the goal line. So getting them in or allowing them to get into the red zone is a recipe for disaster, just based off what they have talent-wise. So you need to start fast, and you need to not just start fast, in the first quarter or the first half, the first few plays of each series. Like, get these guys off the field as soon as possible, because the longer these drives develop, the more they're going to be able to run the football, the more they're going to be able to target those tight ends. So I think it's in all phases of starting fast, they're going to have to do this weekend. I think it starts with guys like K'Lavon Chaisson. We know you can rush the passer. Let's step up on early downs and be able to stop the run, because you're going to get into these 2nd and 4, 3rd and 1 situations, and they are going to have success on the ground. It's just limiting the amount that they're going to be able to actually run it. You want Dylan Gabriel with the ball in his hands. You want to be the first team that's going to make him turn the ball over. It starts early on these early downs and early in the football game. Get them behind and make them do what they don't want to do. That's the key to this game for the Patriots.
Christian Gonzalez also spoke about the Browns offense. Let's hear what he had to say.
What kind of challenges did the Cleveland offense present? I guess Judkins, anytime he touches the ball, looks like he can take off.
Yeah, he's been looking real good. He just came in and did his thing. Dylan over there, he's making plays. He's has no turnovers. So I mean, that's we want to get the ball off of him, and they got receivers. They got a lot of good skill players over there. So it's going to be a challenge for us, but we're excited for it.
Yeah. I mean, look, he's basically saying what you just said. They do have a lot of good skill players, and we do know what Judkins has done, obviously, to start the season. We talked about it a little bit the other day, but 467 rushing yards, 5 touchdowns, and then he's got 9 catches for 62 yards too. So, I think the other point in it is, once they start going, your defense reaches a point, especially as you get further into a game, where if they've been out there trying to drag them down and deal with these long drives, they're going to be worn out too. So you really want to get that fast start. So 1, you're not allowing them to extend drives. And 2, you're not wearing yourself down trying to be out there in the process of it. Look, this Cleveland offense, right? They're averaging 13.7 points per game. That's 32nd in the National Football League.
Not great.
So look, yeah, no, I mean, and like they know these numbers, right? I mean, the Patriots know these numbers, but they also know that you can get behind on that real quick and find yourself facing the other side of something, and that's something that they want to avoid at all costs.
Yeah, we've seen thousands of teams with a defense good enough to where 13 points is enough to win a football game. So, we'll obviously get more into the offense later, but defensively, you're going to need to do your job, because as good as the offense has looked for the Patriots throughout the season, running the ball, throwing the ball, or running the ball recently, throwing the ball all year, it's not going to be as easy as it's been. So the defense is going to need to step up and help them out.
Yeah. All right, we're going to go on the other side and talk about what players or position groups we're keeping an eye on for this game. I'll give you a hint. I haven't really talked much about mine, so it might just be on the other side of the ball. We'll find out Keagan's as well. Plus, as I mentioned, we will head to Cleveland, boots on the ground, to talk with Mary Kay Cabot, who's been covering this team for a long time. Always good to hear her perspective. Stick around. Much more Foxboro Rush coming at you on your Friday morning. Foxboro Rush coming back at you, and I want to give out a little kudos, some flowers on this Friday morning. Hunter Henry climbing up the ranks when it comes to Patriots tight ends, all-time Patriot tight end in receiving yards. He's sitting there in 4th place at this point in his career, moved up last week. And how about this one? Kayvon Chaisson winning AFC Defensive Player of the Week. Gotta like that. And these awards are worth keeping tabs on this season, Keagan.
Yeah, that's their 3rd one, which it's been a long time since they've had 3 in a season. 2019 is the last time. So you could take some small wins out of the year. I think that's a small win. You get one out of a guy you just signed. Marcus Jones got one earlier this year. He's a developmental success story, I would say. Antonio Gibson, obviously, before he got hurt with the house call in Miami. So 3 weekly awards is pretty decent. Now you just got to go get your quarterback one.
Yeah. Well, Drake Maye is working on that. He's definitely working on that. I don't think there's any question there.
The MVP candidacy, it rides on these weekly awards. You gotta get a couple at least.
You got to start putting some notches down to make yourself seen and heard and known around the National Football League. All right, let's talk about players that we are going to be seeing and watching this weekend in particular against the Browns. Look, I mean, for me, I'll kick us off. I kind of said this going into break, but mine are all on the offensive side of the ball this weekend, just because of the fact that they are taking on the number 1 defense, in the league at this point in time. I'm curious to see how they're going to fare against this Browns defense that I think has shown they're willing to make some adjustments to play against, their opponents' strengths. And we certainly saw that last week against the Dolphins. But look, to me, it starts up front, right? I mean, your offensive line has, yes, there's a youth movement on part of your O-line, but they have stood up, and they've answered the call. So I'm curious to see how they fare against this defense, against Myles Garrett, of course. I mean, we all know that he can be a game wrecker, and he, after they won against Miami, was basically like, look, winning needs to become not a feeling, it needs to become an addiction. Like, we need to do this and want to do this all the time. So that they're hungry to figure out what that's like to start wins, to do what the Patriots have done, the last couple weeks. So I want to know how this Patriots offensive line is going to fare up front against this, Browns defensive front led by Myles Garrett.
Yeah, we're on the same wavelength. I got a little bit more specific with the Will Campbell selection just because Myles Garrett's going to have his pick of whoever he wants to pick on. There's the old J.J. Watt, style of play where on the first 5 plays defensively, he would line up over each of the offensive linemen, and whoever was the easiest, that's where he would line up for the rest of the game. Myles Garrett has the same ability, right? Like, Myles Garrett can do that. He'll rush from the inside, rush from the outside. So I think early we're going to see whether or not Will Campbell's up for the task, because if he is, he'll go somewhere else, and then he won't have to deal with Myles Garrett too much. So that'll be an interesting little development early in that game to see. who's Myles Garrett picking on? Who's the weak link on this offensive line? Because we're going to find out on Sunday.
Yeah. I think, and so often, it's like who wins that game in the trenches, right? I mean, gosh,
Absolutely.
like we saw some of it. We saw it last night in the Thursday night game. I mean, Minnesota was just forget it. Like they just put like Jim Harbaugh's crew.
Who's going to be the bully?
Like, sorry. Yeah. Like here we go. Like we're on it. All right. So from there, I mean, I'm going to go to the quarterback because we've seen Drake Maye, stack some really significant numbers, obviously enough that, he doesn't have the AFC Offensive Player of the Week, but he does have some MVP chatter around him at this point in time. So, we saw him, break Tom Brady's single game record for, his number last week, up over 90%. So what's it going to look like this week against a tougher test defensively in terms of this Browns team and the way that they can, disguise some different things and throw some different things at you? I am curious what they'll do in terms of man coverage, because that's something that he's really excelled at. They play a lot of it typically. Will they play as much of it, given that it's been a strength of Maye's? I'm curious to see that.
Yeah, I'm staying offense with you. Demario Douglas is guy I'm going to have my eye on. He's obviously, he's kind of started to break out the last few weeks. I think this is a big week for quick completions, get the ball out, make sure your quarterback doesn't get killed. And he's the guy on this offense who has a little bit of juice in that area that you can run on these kind of gadgety tunnel screens and bubbles and, hand off the ball to him on jet motion, stuff like that. So I think he's going to get the football a decent amount, at least early in the game, because they're going to want to limit these hits. So what can you do with it? If they're running man coverage and you get a block on a block, can you stretch one? Can you make a big play? So that's what I'll be looking for out of him. And then obviously, Efton Chisholm, he's been getting some game day elevations. He started to play a little bit more last week. Maybe they'll try to get him the ball a couple times as well.
Yeah, I think to expand upon that, the third one that I'm watching are really the pass catchers. I'll throw them all kind of together in this game. We heard Vrabel say, right off the top and earlier this week, this is a defense like you got to get the ball out quick. You can't hold on for it for too long. So I'm curious to see, how Josh McDaniels designs the game plan to do that a little bit, and then also like who's going to step up in those places, right? Are we going to see, Steph Diggs with some of his vintage moves, finding ways to get open, little two-step here and there. Like you said, what are we going to see from Pop Douglas? I think that's one. I think Diggs has a big game. And then the tight ends, right? I mean, they're just always such a key component. So how do they use them this week as well? Just to find those quick and easy completions, for Drake and to keep things moving down the field, and then potentially open up some of those longer passes and completions that he's found, a little bit later. Like if you could get those like dink dunk stuff going early and be moving the chains, all of a sudden, like that might open up the ability for him to find someone, 30, 40 yards down the field.
Right. Yeah. I'm going to jump over the defensive side of the ball because we've exhausted the offense, obviously. And I agree with you on all counts where, like, you need to allow Drake Maye to play his game. And by doing that, it starts with, running the ball effectively. And if you are going to use the quick passing game, whoever has the ball in their hands is going to have to get some tough yardage and really make them think twice about the coverage that they're playing. But defensively, with what the Cleveland Browns do well, linebacker play is going to be huge. You need to be able to stop the run, but you also need to be able to cover these two tight ends. David Njoku is one of the forgotten players in the NFL. He really is a great tight end, and being able to cover him from the linebacker position is nearly impossible. Kyle Duggar has a knee injury at safety, so is he going to be able to do it? I'm looking at Marte Mapu. You're their hybrid guy, right? You've been the guy that they've gone to in late game situations where the teams start throwing it all over the place because they're down, and you're covering tight ends. Can you be an effective player in this game? I'll be interested to see that. And then Harold Fannin, who's their backup tight end, is like a freak. He, all-time single season receiving leader at tight end in college football. He is nuts. So somebody's going to have to figure out if they run these 2 tight end sets, which they do like to run, somebody's going to have to be able to cover him. I don't know who it's going to be. Maybe Jalen Hawkins, Craig Woodson, one of those other safeties. It's going to be very interesting to see just who plays on the defensive side of the ball, because I think there's going to be some differences this week than we've seen in the past few weeks.
So watch the matchups is what you're saying. Like, let's see who they actually put on who.
Right. Yeah, and we saw, Charles Woods is a guy who all of a sudden was playing like 40 snaps because they needed an extra cornerback, or defensive line wise. If you're running, or if you're playing against a team who runs the football a lot, maybe Kyrus Tonga's playing a little bit more than a Christian Barmore, right? So matchups has been, this is a matchup defense. They've been that way going back to the days of Bill Belichick. But this week with the linebackers, a position group that, like, you have Robert Spillane, and then you have a bunch of guys who you have no idea whether or not they're like legit, they're going to be here for the long haul. Somebody's going to have to step up this week for sure.
Yeah, this is one of those weeks that you start to find out, right? I mean, you put it on film and you see what you got, and the reality is that these are the games that, you know, when it's all said and done, and I know this is far off because there's a lot of season left, but you know, when you get as far as you're going to go this season, and hopefully for this Patriots team, it's pretty far if they can continue to develop and stack wins the way they have. But these are the games that, you know, the coaches go back to and they look at and they say, okay, like, we like what you did here and you stepped up here, and when you could fit in this way, or nope, sorry, we don't see you fitting in down the road because we didn't see you step up here. Like, this is what they go back to. So, you know, that to me is like, all right, here you go. Like, here's the opportunity. What are you going to do with it? And that's sort of what is sitting before some of these defensive players this weekend.
Absolutely. Defensively, they've done such a good job of picking each other up when they need to, especially at that linebacker position. They were the worst tackling team in football through 3 weeks. They've had 2 missed tackles in the last 2 weeks. Like, they have adjusted and they have made upgrades in certain spots that they need to, just with who they have on the roster. You know, if somebody's not getting the job done, they've got somebody to step right in and help fill the gaps. So this is another example, another week where they're going to have to do that. But like you said, I think the best point there that was made was, this is where we're going to start to see the guys that they start to trust moving forward, like more permanent changes being made, especially on the second level, maybe even the third level. You know, we didn't think Kyle Duggar was going to have much of a role, and all of a sudden he's their number one safety again. And maybe we'll see that at linebacker. Christian Ellis was supposed to be the guy, but maybe Jack Gibbons is who they want to play a little bit more often. So very interesting. You start to see these things develop throughout the year. This is a big week. This might be the turning point for that unit specifically.
Yeah, lots to watch for as we get set for the Cleveland Browns coming in 1:00 Eastern kick, of course, in Foxboro Sunday afternoon. We're gonna hear from you a little bit as we continue here on a Friday on Foxboro Rush, and then we'll head to Cleveland to get their perspective on the game at hand as the Browns head into town. More Foxboro Rush coming at you right after this. Foxboro Rush coming back at you on a Friday morning, and I promised, a little mail call. We would hear from you guys as we're sitting here talking about the Patriots getting set for the Browns. So let's pop them up and see what you have to say on this Friday. I think we've got a couple different ones. Oh, this is about the statue. Yep. We talked about the statue the other day.
Oh boy.
Yeah, this is a nope. Bill doesn't deserve a statue. Brady was the driving force. Bill sabotaged the team when Kraft overruled him on getting rid of Brady. Yeah, I mean, look, there were definitely some negatives there at the end, Keagan. I'm with that. But I also think that you have no idea if Brady and the rest of the composition of that Patriots team and those Patriots teams that, filled up hands of rings, like, you don't know if any of that exists without Bill Belichick. Yes, he deserves the statue.
I think people forget that Bill Belichick permanently benched the highest paid player in football for a second-year, 6th-round pick who people historically refused to start. Like, he didn't even start at Michigan for most of his senior season. It's the people forget the early days. I think the last few years, and rightfully so, he has damaged his own legacy beyond belief. The guy, there's no person in Boston sports that deserves a statue that doesn't have one more than Bill Belichick. That's pretty asinine, I have to say. The guy's going to get a statue. Robert Kraft already said he was going to. They just have to both stop crying about how much they hate each other, and it'll eventually get built.
It will be commissioned at some point in time. We are going to see it. And
the two guys who they're 150 combined between them, stop acting like petulant children. The statue's it's gonna get built.
100%,
it's insane.
100%. Why do we go backwards? Like, we get older and all of a sudden we become children again. Like, come on, stop being the 2-year-old toddler throwing the temper tantrum on the floor. Get over it and realize that you had a lot of success together and put up the statue. Come on. Just please. All right. Some trade talk as well coming in on whether the Patriots should trade for Chris Olave, Jakobi Meyers. This was one of the questions that we threw out there the other day. And Cram 9329-1 said, I'd rather see them acquire a pass rusher or a secondary depth. I don't disagree. I mean, you know, and I think that's probably more of where they're looking, based on what I've seen and read and heard. But, like, I'm not opposed to them acquiring another wide receiver if that's, out there for the taking. Am I giving up the future for it? No, not at this point.
Also, Arden Key, just that name doesn't get the people going the way Chris Olave and Jakobi Meyers does. Like, we're going to talk about the guys that people know. You know what I mean? So it sounds great to talk about the depth pass rusher and secondary players that they might need to acquire. But at the end of the day, Chris Olave and Jakobi Meyers have a little bit more juice. So it's a little more interesting to have those conversations.
True. I mean, they get here and they spark more conversations when, in fact, or if, in fact, that does happen. And then it's not until, Arden Key has like a ridiculous game that people are like, oh my gosh, like, this is who the Patriots traded for? Wow. I mean, that's just,
no one cared when they signed K'Lavon Chason, and he had the best week of any Patriots defender has all season last week. So it's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah. If you're on that side of the ball, you just have to be willing to sort of fly under the radar and be like, all right, when it comes, it comes. And other than that, like, I'm just going to go play my butt off. I mean, right? Yeah. Like, that's the reality of it.
Enjoy that people aren't talking about you that much. It's kind of nice when you don't have I hate Chris Olave because he dropped 2 passes, or no one cares if K'Lavon Chason doesn't have a sack. It's a nice life. Get paid a few $million bucks, go run after the quarterback a little bit. I don't feel bad for him.
Seriously. Yeah, no. I mean, just ask a quarterback. I'm sure there's plenty of them that were like, gosh, can you stop talking about me? Right. Like, I mean, ask Gino how he feels these days. Like, I mean, ask Justin Fields how he feels these days. Like, there's plenty of quarterbacks that are like, okay, I know, like, they get all the limelight, but man, they get all the blame too. So coin goes both ways. Both sides of the coin. All right, we are going to head to Cleveland when we come back here on Foxboro Rush. Get the Browns take as they head in to take on the Patriots this Sunday afternoon. Stick around, more right after this.
How tough will it be for you guys to go to New England and face a Mike Vrabel coached team? Obviously, he knows you guys very well, and I know the respect that you have for him. So what might this be like?
Yeah, it's going to be a great challenge. Coach Vrabes is, somebody that I admire in this profession, how he goes about his business. He was very impactful for us while he was here, while we borrowed him for a bit. But they're playing really good football, and they're talented on all 3 sides of the ball. They're well coached, so it's going to be a great challenge for our football team.
Oh, well, there you have it. And, it's kind of funny. This is the extended Mike Vrabel tour, right? Because obviously he was the head coach down in the Tennessee Titans, but when he was there no more, he spent a year with the Cleveland Browns, close to what he once called home, of course,
Right.
on their staff. So yeah, they do know each other pretty well. And he had his impact and his, fingerprints felt across this Browns organization last season, Keagan. So the tour continues a little bit.
He is like the most players coach of all time. And I don't think he likes that title at all. I think he's just like, I'm a coach. But I don't, in all of his stops, Ohio State, Houston, Tennessee, Cleveland, guys just love him. And they can't get enough of talking about him and talking about all the work that he did. And he had a really good opportunity last year in Cleveland to get away from what his background is, which is defense, obviously. And he worked with the offensive line. And he talked about, there's a great feature, I believe on The Athletic, that was written last year, just about his process of, taking a step back and not having the responsibility of a coach and being more hands-on and doing it with a group, the offensive line and the tight ends that he hadn't really worked with before in a hands-on fashion, which, obviously as a head coach, you work with everybody, but you're kind of 10,000 foot view. So it's a great story. I would go and read it. And just after reading that and knowing how glowingly he talks about Cleveland, I think it was really good for him to not only step away, but for his development as a coach to kind of know how to deal with different kinds of players in different environments.
Yeah, and I think that has carried through, right? I mean, how often did we hear throughout camp and practice how hands-on he is, right? I mean, that's something that we've talked about, and I think he was that way before, but when you have that time to work with a different position group than one that you've worked with previously, and that's only going to benefit you and your team overall, that you can be hands-on in lots of different areas of the game. The other thing that I would just mention, and we were kind of talking about this during the break, is this notion of, you said players coach, and I think the way that he's handled things with Kyle Duggar, the way he's handled things with Ramondre Stevenson, just continuing to have that belief in players, right? Specifically, I think we've seen it with Ramondre, and have them find their way and then have continued success. I think that's hugely significant for the team as a whole, because it just gives this guys this belief of, okay, maybe I didn't put my best product on film this week, but I know my coach still believes that I can do that. And that just gives, I think, individuals this sense of, I'm going to go out and do it. And right. Maybe I doubted myself for a second, or, maybe I'm frustrated that I didn't have a great day, or maybe it's tough that I'm injured and I'm trying to play through it. Right.
Right.
Like there's all these different variables for each and every guy on this team. But I think sometimes just knowing that your coach, like, one, gets it, right? Because he played this game and he knows what it's like to go out there hurt, and to go out there and not put the best game on film. But to know that he still has that belief, I think is huge, for this team as a whole, and for each individual to be able to put forth their best effort. Which, when they can all do that, we start to see them do what they've done and stack some wins in the early season, Keagan.
Yeah, and it's an individual approach as well. It's not a universal, like Bill Belichick, it was a universal approach. I'm going to treat everybody the same way. Obviously, he found a ton of success with that, but you mentioned two names, in Kyle Duggar and Ramondre Stevenson. And it was a different way of kind of giving them a jolt forward. With Ramondre, he stood behind him and he said, we're not going to punish this guy. We need him. He's a big part of this football team. And I think that meant a lot to Ramondre Stevenson, and it did a lot for his confidence. It was the opposite with Kyle Duggar. We, coming into the season, we were asking a ton of questions about why, based off of what we saw in the preseason, why is Kyle Duggar still here and why is Jabril Peppers not here? And he was kind of like, it's just the way it worked out. Kyle's going to need to continue to earn his role every day. Like, nothing's going to be given to him. And this is a former captain, a guy who got a big contract, a second-round pick, 5 years ago. A pretty big name around these parts. And it was, he's going to have to earn it. We're not giving him anything. So 2 different approaches, and it's worked out for both of them because I think Kyle Duggar is playing about as well as he can given the circumstances, and Ramondre Stevenson obviously had a good week last week. So knowing not only when to push the buttons, but which buttons to push with each individual player is such a strength that he has. I don't think a lot of coaches, especially guys who never played the game, but even guys who did, I don't think they have that sense of knowing how to and when to, push on or lean on their players and get the best out of them.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely guys around the league, I think, that know how to do it. Like Sean McVay comes to mind for me. I think he, Kyle Shanahan comes to mind. I mean, there are different guys, I think, that have been in it for so long and then just inherently like have that quality that they know how, like, I mean, ultimately most coaches will tell you, like, I'm in this because I'm a teacher, right? I mean, that's what like I've had that conversation with so many coaches and they're like, I love to teach. And the best teachers know that you're not going to be able to use the same tactic to get the best out of every student in your class. You have to get to know your students and recognize, oh, like I can go hard here at this person. This person needs me to help build them up more and lift them up, right? And I think the most important part of all of it is that nobody's going to do any of it for you if they don't believe that you have that faith and that trust and want to be a force of encouragement and really love for them. Like that's really what it stems from. Like most people don't use that word in football, but it's the truth because like, and that's what we've seen Vrabel build with this whole team from go is that he wants everybody in there to know, I got your back. I care about you. And then he's tried to instill that within all of them towards each other, because then they lift each other up and it's not just him lifting up. And that's how you find success in this league, in this game. I don't care whatever you are and whatever you're doing. That's how you find success.
Yeah, we don't see very many coaches like fight other players on other teams and jump into dog piles during training camp like Mike Vrabel did. There's something different there. And, stemming off of the conversation, I think he's gotten a lot better of knowing kind of how to change his relationship or approach it differently from players to coaches to front office people. Like that was kind of the struggle in Tennessee was they got a little sick of the like being bullied and pushed around by Mike Vrabel, I think, and they moved in a different direction. And I think he's not necessarily that he was wrong in that situation because we see what's happening in Tennessee. Like we know that he was probably closer to being on the right side than the wrong side, but he has changed that a little bit. I've heard, at least in the building, much nicer to be around and really people who aren't on the field are enjoying his presence and enjoying the way that they get to work with him. It's a collaborative environment. It's everything that we heard Gerard Mayo talk about last year, but it's actually being put into action under Mike Vrabel. And I think after seeing, for people who were here last year and are still here, from seeing it be talked about and not acted upon to now seeing it be talked about and acted upon by a guy who's been there and done that, it's huge. And having synergy across the organization, I feel like I'm in a work meeting right now, but having that across the organization, have a common goal be there and everybody's on the same page is huge for a football team. Because if everybody's not on the same page, you're not going to win very many football games.
No, you're not. And when you do face the adversity that inevitably is going to come your way throughout the course of the season, it is going to either divide you or it is going to have you wilt beneath it, like one of the, one of the two. Versus, if you do have that synergy, all of a sudden you go, okay, like we can handle this. We can rise above this. We can find a way to defeat whatever it may be in front of us. So look, I mean, that's something that, again, this is foundational stuff, but you can't overstate it. You really can't. It's so significant to a team having a season success and then long-term success. So look, again, super significant and important. We have been waiting on Mary Kay Cabot, and I believe she got tied up. So we're just going to keep rolling here, Keagan. But I'm curious for your perspective, and I mentioned this earlier. In terms of this Browns defense, do you think that they're going to make some changes in terms of playing man coverage and mix it up a little bit because of the success that Drake Maye has had against it, similar to how we saw them make some changes last week, to deal with the speed that the Miami Dolphins offense has?
Yeah, I think they will. We talk about coverage a lot, right? It's man versus zone, kind of. What are you showing versus what are you actually doing? I think the Browns do a great job of that. They'll show one thing and do something completely different, and that's what's throwing these quarterbacks off. So they'll continue to do that. I think they'll continue to mix coverages as well. The big thing is that they can just trust that they can rush 4 and get after the quarterback, and that's huge because teams that have blitzed Drake Maye have gotten killed this year. Like, it's not a recipe for success. You blitz him, he's going to find somebody and get rid of the football. He's taken the least amount of hits on blitzes this year. He's taken the least amount of sacks. He has the highest QBR of any quarterback in the NFL on blitzes. He's been that good. So I think they must feel good about the fact that, all right, we can rush 4 and we'll be fine and still be able to get pressure on him before, he just kills us and he tears us up. So that I think they'll do. I don't think they're going to blitz him a lot. I think they'll rush 4. I think they're going to disguise coverage and play a little bit more zone. So what does that mean? That means a lot of running backs. That means a lot of Stephon Diggs. Like you said, you think he'll have a big game. I think if they do end up making that shift to zone coverage, Stephon Diggs, this is his week. Yeah. It's his week to really go off in front of the home crowd, which he hasn't done this season. It'll be big for him for sure.
Yeah, I agree. And I think he wants that. Like, he's not going to come out and say that he wants that.
Of course.
But he wants that.
Yeah.
Like, that's just the reality of it. And again, I think it's really significant for them to find a way to hold serve, at home and start to, you can't build it in a day, right? You can't build Rome in a day. Foxborough is not all of a sudden going to become this, oh man, we got to go play the Patriots in Foxborough. Like, that's not going to happen overnight. Yeah. But you do need to start to build that, because look, I mean, you got Buffalo coming in here later this season. You want to have as much confidence as you can at home that you can go out there and use that to your advantage, for a game like that later down the road. And these are the games that help to build that.
Yeah, there have been some instances, I would say, over their last 8 to 9 home games. Like, most of them have been close, but they've been on the losing end. And that's the issue. You're keeping these games close, but like, the home field advantage should be what's pushing you over the top. You take out, they got killed by the Chargers in December. Like, that game was never close, but they beat Buffalo. And then every other game of their last 9 home games, 1-score games. So they've been close. The losses, at least, I should say. They obviously killed Carolina, but they've been close. They've been in them. Now you've gotten to the point where you've started to keep them close. You've won a couple. Now you got to take it over the top. You got to start rattling off multiple wins in a row. That's really going to be what changes the vibe around coming to New England. Because I guarantee you, there are some teams who are like, New England, last time we went there, we killed them. Belichick was the coach, and we killed them. They lost to the Jets in Belichick's last game. Like, Foxborough is not what it used to be. They need to start getting toward that. I think they're on their way, but it starts with winning games like this for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, no doubt. It starts with winning, this one, and then you got, a Falcons team that certainly can run the ball. We know that. And their defense is no joke either. So you got that, on the heels of this one. So they're all significant in their own way. What's your score prediction for this one, Keagan?
I think it's going to be low scoring for sure. What did I say? On what, like 16-9, something weird. I think a lot of field goals.
Oh, yeah, you sound like crazy.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard to move the ball. I don't think there are gonna be a lot of touchdowns scored in this one. So give me 16-9 Patriots.
16-9. All right, I'll go a little higher than that. I think we're more like 24-10. 12, something like that. Some
Sure.
wonky one, I think, on the Browns end. I think the Patriots will find the end zone a couple times. So we'll see. We'll find out. But look, we'll do it again next week. We got lots of football ahead of us, and hopefully some more entertaining games than the Thursday night game this week. I mean, I guess if you just like Justin Herbert, I mean, you know, that was good.
Big week for him.
See you next week. Enjoy the football.